What the fuck are we gonna do against that? Like,
Dude.
we might outnumber the rich a 1,000,000 to 1, but 7 fucking Boston Dynamics dogs would cut us all down in the streets like nothing.
Imagine all the fucking Boston Dynamics robots. They all are like equipped with like, you know, voice activation to like communicate with people.
Yeah.
And they all have super thick Boston accents.
Get back in your fucking homes now.
Stop or my fucking dog will come eat you.
Yeah. I got machine gun mounted turrets on my fucking knees.
Just a robot?
These are my knees. The machine guns.
Your skin looks real soft. Don't want to touch it.
Yeah, fucking, you ever seen The Departed?
They're just always talking about The Departed. They're always talking about fucking Matt Damon movies.
It's gonna be just like that scene in The Departed.
While they're cuffing you, they're just like, you seen Departed?
Which one was the rat?
Oh my god, dude.
No ticky, no laundry, huh?
That is so great. Oh man, I forgot that there was racial shit going on for a second.
I know, just for a second we had a couple laughs there.
Shit, so before we started rolling, I was saying I have Ashton Kutcher's red wine. And then what did you say?
We can't bring up what we can't. It's too late. The moment's over. We can't explain.
Okay, so this is what he said. He said, yeah, is it made by all the girls that he rescued from the sex trade? Because he does that in his off time.
I was going to say captured from the sex trade.
Captured from the sex trade.
He captured him, he rescued him, whatever.
And then we jokingly imagined him at a farm with all the rescued females that that was weird. With all the rescued women, girls, at his winery, stomping on all the grapes while he watches them intently and masturbates. And
funny enough, the sex traffickers were actually they were getting sex trafficked into grape smashing as well. So
and
it's not. No, we'll cut that.
Honestly, I thought it was hilarious.
It was funny when we were saying it the first time. There's
hard. Something funny about trying to describe something in a non-funny way.
Yes, yeah.
Just like,
Yeah. Well, we'll work on it. We'll have to write it out as a joke.
I mean, we'll film a video of it.
Yeah.
We'll reenact it. Dude, I can't fucking wait for Nicolas Cage to be the Tiger King. You still haven't watched that, though, have you?
I still haven't watched Tiger King.
You gotta watch it,
I
man.
know. It's a Tiger King. I feel like the hype's over. No one remembers it anymore.
I mean, I think it's been eclipsed by other stuff going on.
Things happening right now.
I mean, it really sucks what happens to wild cats, but
take me back to that.
I think it sucks more what's going on now. Man. So
this is our Black Lives Matters episode then.
Pretty much.
Like protests.
There's really nothing else
rights.
to talk about.
No. Right now it's the biggest thing.
And
I mean, COVID's still raging through, but
it's taking a back seat, though.
I'm bored with COVID.
Yeah, I'm so fucking bored.
That shit is done.
Canceled. I don't give a fuck anymore.
Cancel culture can cancel COVID. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean, I wash my hands a lot still.
Yeah, me too. But I don't go to the glory hole nearly as often. But
you have Purell in there to wash your dick before you put it through the hole.
Right.
Just like make sure you Purell that cock.
All I can taste is alcohol.
Oh boy.
I don't like tasting the rubbing.
There's really nothing going on in the news that I have come across that is funny, because everything is about what's happening. So, I mean, it's really out of my hands. We can't really make it as funny as it usually would be. We'll see where it goes, but
yeah, I don't know how funny I'm gonna be able to make this stuff.
But there's really nothing else to talk about, and let's talk about it.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. I didn't expect to see the rest of the world start protesting as well.
I was very surprised by that too.
Racial inequality and police brutality and authoritarianism and all that shit in all these other countries all around the world.
Yeah.
And it's kind of fucked up because like Hong Kong's been battling for their rights for like a year now.
And no one's been doing
shit. Yeah, and
shit
like
for
a
them.
couple people posted on social media, and then like the NBA like fucking immediately, Daryl Morey or whoever for the Houston Rockets that made some post about the Hong Kong protests and was just like immediately fucking reprimanded. And now here we are in America having our protest, and the rest of the world is just supporting the shit out of it.
Yeah.
But we are like a pinnacle or paragons of culture. I don't know why I'm going with P descriptor words. Right
I like
now.
it.
I think but anyway.
Paramount.
We drive culture all around the world, so it makes sense that people would be interested in our affairs and what's going on.
But
and
it is also sad.
It's not like racial inequality is just exclusive to America or North America. But
aren't we statistically the most diverse country?
Yeah, I think so.
So I think that's why people think it matters over here because,
Well, and yeah, like I said, we drive so much of the culture in the world, and people look at what's going on in America all the time.
Yeah.
You know?
I wonder, I think about that sometimes, like what it's like to be from another country and just constantly see stuff about America.
Right. Like being on Reddit and just like everyone just assumes you're talking about America or assumes you are American like all the time.
And is there really that much? I mean, look, we have a evil carrot running the country.
Dude.
We have a virus lockdown of unprecedented measures, and we have a Black Lives Matter movement that's been the strongest it's ever been since the Civil Rights Movement, all happening at once.
Right.
And it's a pressure cooker for sure. I'm feeling it. Mm-hmm. And I haven't even been directly affected by it except for maybe lockdown stuff. But I can it's just like static in the air, and it's stressing me out.
Yeah.
You know?
And you mentioned being on your phone a lot too. You're just like watching a lot of videos and stuff coming out like from
I just nervously surf on my phone.
Yeah.
And it's honestly something that I've started to recognize like that stresses me out.
Yeah.
Like if I just put it down, I immediately feel the sense of like okay.
Right.
Like we're okay.
Yeah.
But then the second I feel that, my brain goes, but what's on your phone?
Yeah.
What's on your phone right now, though?
It's a fucking weird loop.
It's just a vicious cycle.
But I can't fucking stay off my phone because I just I refresh Reddit every hour, and there's just a new video of someone being fucking brutalized by the police.
Yeah.
And the police getting away with it.
Someone on Reddit made a mashup. Did you see the video of that cop that's like, people are trying to make us ashamed of our jobs.
Treat us like animals. How about we get a little respect out here? Yeah.
And then a guy made a mashup.
Looking ass motherfucker.
Yeah, a guy made a mashup of that guy's speech with cops just like being completely insane.
Right. I've seen it.
And it just made everything he was saying sound so ridiculous.
How does there no self-awareness there for that guy to realize like the reason people don't respect the badge is because of the way it's been fucking mishandled and mistreated? And I'm so sick of hearing people saying that there's just a few bad cops, you know.
It's a lot more than a few.
Right. And it's not necessarily, it's horrible what they're doing explicitly, but all of the other cops that work with them and their superiors and their unions that just like allow it to continue happening, and the court system that when they fucking get put on trial for a murder or whatever they end up calling it, then they just get
whatever they end up calling it is
in the end is like they get their pension. They might lose their job. Most of the time they don't. Fucking insane. Like I feel like I'm in crazy world.
The guy, I don't remember his name, but the guy who committed the crime against George Floyd, the cop, I guess I read yesterday that he got bail.
Oh, really?
So
why?
He's out.
How? He's out there again.
Yeah. Oh, you know what else I read? I didn't get into the details, but I read a short thing about the cop that we're talking about and George Floyd.
Was it Derek Chauvin or something like that?
Yes, something like that.
Fuck that guy anyway.
That they knew each other before.
Yeah, I heard. Didn't they work like
they
as
were
security
at a nightclub together?
Yeah. What the fuck is that all about?
I mean, I guess it's just a coincidence. What the story is, Floyd didn't like him at all because apparently Floyd was quoted saying that guy used way, way, way too excessive force all the time. Like just being security at a nightclub. Like he would just do the extreme as soon as possible. Like just mace someone who's just like talking to him. Or
and he had a really long rap sheet as a police officer too for excessive force.
Yeah. And that's important.
Yeah.
I mean, that's extremely
I mean,
important.
hopefully they took that into
But
account
how
when they
many
set
rap
his
sheets
bail.
are there out there with the same credentials? Like, he fucked up this time, he fucked up this time,
right.
he fucked up over there.
That should be public record.
Like,
is it? I don't
there's
know.
probably a lot of those, you know?
Yeah. You mean within the police or
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And look, George Floyd had a not so great record either.
Right.
Like, he was charged with for example, was charged for posing as the local water department with another person and breaking into a woman's house and holding her at gunpoint. And apparently when he died, the autopsy showed that he had fentanyl and meth in his system, which I don't think really matters or applies because he still got killed by what the cop did.
Right.
But I'm just like trying to paint a picture. He wasn't perfect. You know, he wasn't like a saint. Like, what happened to him was wrong. But I think it's good to just like know all the details about everything, you know?
Yeah.
The most important thing is not George Floyd's record or whatever drugs he did. The point is the systemic racism going on.
Right. This was just such a fucking brutal video to watch and such a horrible and helpless fucking feeling to imagine what that poor dude was going through in that, you know, that's a long fucking time to have the life squeezed out of you. And watching that video, just like, it's a really powerful image, and also the metaphor and just the fucking symbolism there for what's been going on for so fucking long. That knee on his fucking neck, and he's telling him I can't breathe, and the dude doesn't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that is the system that America is built on, and it's not a broken system. It's working exactly as it's intended. Like, yeah, our system is fucked, and it ruins the lives of the impoverished and fucking treads them into a labor force that just props up the fucking stock market and the wealthy in our country. But it's such a fucking perfect image for the movement, you know?
And really is.
And he, whether he had drugs in his system or a past or whatever, like, it's just one instance in a fucking, it's a drop in the bucket in a sea of wrongful killings of black men and women in our country. And Breonna Taylor, the woman that was murdered,
so I don't know about that. What happened?
She was a nurse, and she was asleep in her bed with her boyfriend, and the police executed a no-knock raid on their house, which apparently they had the wrong address. It was not on the search warrant or whatever. And they kicked the door into their house, and I don't know who shot first, but her boyfriend, they were plain clothes. They weren't in uniform.
Yeah.
And her boyfriend apparently, I don't know if he shot first or they shot first, but there was gunfire. And Breonna Taylor was shot like 8 times and killed in her bed. And then the police just fucking left. The 911 call that her boyfriend made was released. I didn't listen to the whole thing because I'm having a really hard time listening to this shit. But
yeah.
So he called the police. He calls 911 and he's like, someone just broke into our house and shot my girlfriend. Somebody fucking, I don't know what's going on. Made this frantic 911 call. So they arrest him for attempted murder of the police officers that broke into their home. And
what did he actually do?
He just, he heard a group of men breaking into his house, and he shot at them, and they shot back, and they returned fire for a while before the police just left. And he didn't know they were police. He made the 911 call. He didn't say cops broke into my house. He's like, someone just came in my house.
Right, that's a really good
and started
point.
Shooting at me and my girlfriend, and they shot my girlfriend.
If you knew there were cops, that would be the first word out of your mouth.
Right.
In that call. You'd be like, cops just came in here and shot my girlfriend.
Right.
Like,
yeah. Exactly.
If you didn't know, then you
So he fucking gets arrested for attempted murder of the police officers. Eventually, weeks later, got out because obviously he fucking didn't do anything wrong. I don't think the officers have been arrested still. And it was because there was a warrant. They just got the wrong address. It's a whoopsie-daisy. So they don't, they're fucking protected by the union, by the laws, whatever. I don't fucking know, but
that's the thing, is we just don't know exactly what that is.
So it's like,
what's going on. You know what I mean?
This shit is so old. The bigger this movement grows right now, the more protests there are, the more I just realize, like, Black Americans, African Americans have been fucking fighting for this cause since the civil rights movement. And they're just like,
since the
like,
country was started.
How fucking long are we gonna just let the police murder whoever they want? And it is a huge issue of race, and obviously Black people get by far the fucking worst treatment, by not just by police, but like you said, systemic racism within the fucking housing market and economically and getting jobs, all of that shit. Like, it goes all the way. It runs all the way through our entire culture. But people that can't fucking admit to it, like, that's the problem, is that there are so many people that want to fucking deny or obfuscate the issue or say, like, you know, I had it hard too, you know, and it's just like, yeah, but your skin color didn't make it harder.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you might have had it hard, but, like, you didn't have an extra fucking layer of difficulty built in.
And that is an extra thick layer.
Yeah, like, there's no understating that.
And like you said, with the housing market problem, they literally would, like, take a map of a town and outline the parts in red marker where the Black people lived.
Yeah.
To warn white people,
you don't
want this property.
Right. Or they wouldn't even, the Black families couldn't even buy and own houses. They would just have to lease houses from white property owners, and they would never actually end up getting any equity of their own or having any wealth built up.
And in my opinion, that right there is obviously not the beginning of the problem. The beginning of the problem was slaves, but a very strong second huge problem in the case of their struggle is the fact that we've deliberately and systematically shoved them all into boxes in the dark corner of society.
Right.
And the saddest thing is that has forced them all to live their lives in fear. And when you live your life in fear, the only thing that matters is your survival. And when your survival is the only thing that matters, you'll end up doing some extreme things. Anybody put into that situation, it's just human psychology.
Right.
If you are abused and mistreated
and not heard or listened to or
you will
fucking
not trust,
taken seriously,
you will not trust at all. Like, trust won't be in your toolbox.
Right.
You don't have trust. And if you don't have any trust, you don't have any confidence, you end up being a victim of your environment. Because when people say, like, I've had it hard too, or all lives matter,
that shit is fucking ridiculous.
That is simply just a misunderstanding completely of what is actually going on.
Right.
Either that's a deflection of a racist or a completely ignorant person, and both are terrible.
Right.
You know?
Right. Because it's so obvious, like, what someone means when you say Black Lives Matter. You're not saying, like, we live in a system that systemically holds down a certain race of people, and we have been conditioned to think that they are lesser than, and they're not. Their lives matter just as much. Black Lives Matter. We're not saying all of that, but we're just, because we all understand, we all know our history. We all realize, like, we live in a culture and a society that has not been fair to them. And so when you say Black Lives Matter, like, we're pretty much just taking for granted the rest of it. Like, we haven't shown with our actions in our society that we believe this to be the case. And we need to remind ourselves, and people need to start acting like it, not just renaming fucking streets and tearing down monuments of oppression is a good thing. But
it's not
the work to be done on present day is more important than squabbling over Confederate statues and shit. Like, don't get me wrong, tear down every Confederate statue, never fly a Confederate flag again, that's fine. But what's important are the fucking murderers on the street right now, the people right now, and what we can do, what legislation we can pass, what political change we can fucking enact to ensure that everyone gets a fair shake. It's a racial issue at the root of it in our country, but there's an economic component too. Being poor and white fucking sucks too. And so I think that a lot of people need to get past, not necessarily Black people, white people need to understand understand that the racial issue is a huge part of it, but that this is their fight too. If you're not a fucking billionaire or a multimillionaire, like, this is not just a struggle only for racial equality. This needs to become a struggle for income equality and for basic human rights and providing for the basic needs of the people. Yes, in America, but globally, like, as a global society, we're fucking raping and pillaging the resources way too fast.
Yeah.
And we're treading on the most vulnerable, not just Black Americans, African Americans, but in other countries, children in fucking Asia and Africa mining cobalt and gold out of the fucking ground so we can have iPhones and shit. Like,
fuck.
The whole system stands on the throat of Asians.
Non-whites.
And yeah, pretty much, like, if you're not, I'm not saying every country's a third world country or a mining colony, but there's just so much inequality based on income, not just race. Yes, race is the root of it, but the income inequality and the fucking wealth gap and the way that we treat the resources and the way that our economy is based to fucking prop up the wealthiest, all of that shit is tied into the police killing us.
Yeah.
Like, all of that ties into it. And Black Americans get the fucking worst of it because they fill the prison systems, and it's still a fucking form of modern day slavery that our economy is fucking propped up on. But if you're fucking poor and you're white or you're Hispanic or you're Asian or whatever, and you're caught up and arrested or whatever, like, you can expect to get the shit end of the stick too, you know?
The big picture is the economics.
Yeah.
Because when you really think about it, the reason for all of our misunderstandings and our problems when it comes to race, especially with the Black community, is because there's such a huge, enormous economic gap between the rest of society. Even lower class white people don't usually live in low class Black communities. It's mostly Black or Latino. But that right there to me is a problem because our differences, at least to me, are not physical. I know to true racists it is. Like, that's everything.
Right.
Like, it's at a genetic level.
It's just not.
It's not that, though. What the real separation is not biological, not physical, not visible. It's the circumstantial differences.
Mm-hmm.
And if we close the gap on that,
right.
If we just put our energy and our efforts towards that, which, hello, it's our fucking country.
Right.
We live
Everyone
here.
will benefit. Like,
more people die in Chicago every year, accumulatively in Iraq and Afghanistan and all those other, since we've been there since 2001.
yeah.
Just this last weekend, there was 25 murders over 24 hours.
It's fucking insane.
And that's happening in our country. We're okay. We're going to sweep it under the rug.
And it's, dude, the rug is so, it's like the rug is sitting on top of just a pile of bodies.
Basically.
Like, and it's been this way for
That's
since
strong
forever, dude.
there.
Like,
Yeah.
we're sweeping them under the rug still, but fucking hell, how long? When is it gonna fucking stop?
And the rug is like not the American flag we have now, but the old revolutionary
Yeah,
one with the
yeah.
circle stars just draped over them.
Yeah, and it's all old and tattered and shit.
Just stained and ripped.
It's like trying to shove one more.
That'd be a
just
painting.
one more fucking, and dude, there's just so many facets to it.
A lot of people, you might roll your eyes at this, but I've had friends my entire life that were very close to me that were not of my complexion. And it was never a thing to me.
Right. Didn't matter.
Like, I was never,
Doesn't matter.
when you're a kid, you don't look at your friend and go, oh, they're different than me. You just go, I like that guy. It's so obvious that that shit is taught.
Right.
The biggest piece that we could move to fit into the right spot that would help change things is if we had the ability to be around each other more often.
Yeah.
Really, because if your life is ingrained with other cultures and other races,
Mm-hmm. People really are afraid of Black people, dude.
You
And it's
don't
kind of fucked
know-
up.
yeah.
But like, we know people and are friends with people that like probably just don't really feel super comfortable around Black people, or know how to act around Black people, or know how to talk around them. You know,
Yeah,
it's
dude.
just an unfortunate fucking reality. But like,
it's true.
I feel like
But those people are good people.
They're
That's
great.
the thing.
I don't think they're racist
Like,
in
that's
any
the
way.
thing that,
but
like,
they haven't been around. Like they've been taught so many things.
They're
and
nervous.
Black culture that they're exposed to is not the same as the human being that you meet
Right.
and that you talk to and that
Yeah.
you interact with.
You're
know,
seeing the movie version.
right? People understand black people as like what they've heard in hip hop, what they've seen in movies. Like this is how it is, and it's like if you actually just interact with another human being, not as a black person, but just as a human being, there's no difference. You know,
They don't all live in Harlem and Compton.
right, and they don't all fucking listen to rap. They don't all fucking that it's unfortunate that media drives so much of our perception of reality in current times, and so many people, like you said, the most important thing is exposure. You need to be around them. You need to fucking hang out with black people. You need to hang out with Hispanic people, Latino people. You need to hang out in other communities. You need to make friends that are different than you. And that is when people have those fucking wake up moments when a racist will fucking change their ways. If they, everyone's seen American History X. We both are big fans of Daryl Davis. Like,
Exactly. I was
like,
gonna bring him up. Actually,
he's one of the shining fucking examples.
Yeah.
But
a lot
it's
of
not,
black folks hate on him.
Well, and I think there can be a case made for that in a certain way. But
I applaud him completely.
I do too.
think.
I think he's doing God's work, but I think that it's not necessarily his responsibility to fucking reach out to that crowd. It's not his.
That is a man. That is a human being, though. Daryl Davis.
Yeah.
He is essentially the definition of what a higher-minded individual is.
Right.
Like, he is of higher
if
mind.
everyone had that fucking capacity for empathy and patience and understanding of other people, obviously we wouldn't even have to be having this conversation.
All of our and I'm gonna try my best not to paint broad strokes over so many things in this, but at the same time, like, my mind also does just tend to go, okay, this is the smallest minute detail of what's going on here, and let's zoom out as far as we can and see it from a sky view.
Yeah.
And what's around it.
What's been on my mind a lot lately is back on the economic situation.
Yeah.
Is like Tulsa, Oklahoma, and the bombing of the black communities, Black Wall Street. Did you watch that Watchmen show? It's fucked up.
I did, yeah.
Dude, that was the first place I even learned about Tulsa. And in the beginning of that show, when that black town, they're bombing our American citizens, they're fucking murdering, slaughtering, and burning.
It's terrorism.
A fucking town of American citizens because they're black. And that is just another fucking example of the foot on the fucking throat, on the neck of an entire people here in our country that have they as soon as they're starting to pull themselves out of the fucking hole we've dug and tossed them into, we won't fucking allow it,
Yeah.
And that is just compounding. That has continued to happen. There's more examples of it that I wasn't taught this shit in school. I didn't know about it, dude.
It's
always fucking egregious.
Always been one of the biggest complaints for the black community is like, why isn't more of our history taught in school?
And rightly so. And we should be fucking campaigning on, like, these protests are so important. And it reminds me of like the Occupy Wall Street movement when it started fizzling out because they didn't have demands. Like, no one knew what do you guys want? Yeah, Occupy Wall Street, change the financial. What do you want? Like, you don't have any concrete demands. It's like, yes, we do. We want the bankers that crashed the fucking global economy by selling useless mortgage bonds. We want them to go to prison because they fucked so many people over and stole so much money and homes from the American people.
Or at least just step up and take responsibility for what happened.
So this movement, yes, people, the fucking police and the government and state and county officials need to step up and take responsibility and say, like, we haven't done enough. We will we're going to do more. We're going to pass legislation now to make you safer from fucking police brutality, to defund the violent aspects of the police department and put more funding into social programs, counseling, housing, food co-ops, things like that will fucking keep people from having to commit crimes, the things that build communities and that help the people.
Last night I was talking about the defund the police thing, and I had just listened to a podcast with a former cop, Ronnie Coleman, if anybody knows who that is, and he was just talking about his days being a police officer and talking about what's going on now. He's black. Obviously, that's pertinent to this. He strongly disagreed with defund the police, and he said why. And he was pretty much saying, like, they already don't get paid enough for what they have to do. He was like, it's the most stressful job you can have ever. There's nothing more stressful except being a soldier. And when you think about it, soldiers that go to war, they go for a short amount of time and come back, or they don't come back. A police officer is essentially on the same wavelength of stress as a soldier, but for their entire career, day in and day out, for years and years and years. That does something to you. I don't care who you are, that does something to you. And he was like, I was in a very peaceful place to be a cop. He's like, imagine what it's like to be in Chicago. And I just try to use empathy as much as I can. I'll tell you right now, don't fucking ask me to be a cop.
Yeah.
Not because of the scrutiny or the violence, their wrongdoings, essentially just what the job entails. I don't want any part of that.
Yeah.
I don't want that responsibility. It just sucks because, yes, defunding the police as far as taking away their tear gas, taking away a lot of their unnecessary weapons, and funneling that money into something, like you said, social work, is exactly what we should do.
Right.
I didn't really see that last night when I was talking about it. I just thought, this guy said this, and I agree with him, I think. They don't get paid enough. It's super dangerous. They're super stressed, and stress causes them to act the way they do.
I mean, those all sound like great arguments to defund the police to me. You bring up a good point of how stressful and how difficult of a job it is to be a police officer in the capacity that they are right now, because they do every traffic stop, every domestic disturbance, every violent crime, robberies. It is akin to being a soldier in a way. It's especially in a place like Chicago or Detroit, like in places where it is fucking ingrained in both sides' minds that like they're the enemy. The cops think the fucking criminals are the enemies, and the criminals think the fucking cops are the enemies, or everybody is everyone's enemy, and it's an unfortunate side effect of the system they live in. But we should specialize those police that are going to be called onto those dangerous calls, that are going to be called on violent criminals or violent crimes or possible, weapons on premises, whatever. That should be a much smaller force, and those people need to be very highly fucking vetted and very highly trained at conflict de-escalation above the training that they have now of militarization. I mean, I'm just spitballing here, but in my mind, like, you specialize that force of police that has to respond to that type of shit, and then you have many other branches that
like Navy SEALs or special ops, like,
and we're gonna redirect the funds that are going to the department that has fucking riot shields and tear gas and M16s in the fucking locker rooms that they never touch except when the black people start protesting.
Seriously,
we can fucking start redirecting all the funds that go to that shit into social programs, and yes, we'll still have the fucking specialized force that responds to violent crime, but we can send out a different specialized force that is highly trained in counseling and psychology and empathy. That
battle is the last resort.
Right.
They have weapons if they need them, but they don't dare draw them because that's against their code.
Right.
People like that.
And look at other countries. Look at the police force in other countries. They don't fucking carry guns, dude. They don't go around shooting and stomping on their civilians. Like,
the least we could do is put rubber bullets in their guns, because that shit fucking hurts, dude. I bet.
How many fucking protesters have lost eyes, dude? Like a dozen protesters have lost at least one fucking eyeball to rubber bullets in the last couple weeks. Like, I feel like I'm falling victim right now into what we talked about earlier of the whole world looking at America and thinking America is like the driving force of all culture. And I'm thinking about our system and the ways that the things that we need to do to change, like develop social programs. There are tons of examples out there in the world abroad of ways of controlling and keeping order in large populations without authoritarian violence the way we do it in America.
Yeah.
And it's just like, why do we act like it needs to be this way when it doesn't? And I also don't want to put other countries on a pedestal as if there's so much, other places are so much better than America, because obviously they have their issues too, because they're protesting as well. And I'm reading articles on Reddit about like racism coming out to the forefront in Germany, and thousands of people marching against racism and authoritarianism in Germany. So, and way more civilians are killed in gun homicides in America. It's not even comparable in other countries around the world. But
and that, I mean, obviously that has to do with our mass mentality, I think.
Yeah, it's so people don't even realize how easy it is to get a gun. I bought Jennifer a gun for her birthday just like a couple months ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What'd you get her?
I bought her a little Taurus G2C. It's a small 9mm handgun.
What?
Yeah, it's really dope.
What prompted you to do that?
The fucking apocalypse, bro. COVID.
So you were just like, I'm about to get my wifey
I was just like, dude,
a man killer.
People like, I have such fucking mixed feelings on guns. I hate fucking guns. I wish they didn't exist.
Because you're a wise person.
I wish that people didn't have such a trivialized way to take another person's life. Anybody can accidentally fucking kill someone, or in anger kill someone with a gun, and they're fucking horrible. But also, like, you have to play by the rules that the fucking rest of the world is playing by, and home protection is important. But people don't realize how easy it was, dude. I just walked into the store and signed a paper, and they sold it right to me. Nothing else. No, I mean, they did a background check. I'm not a criminal or anything, but
but that's it. Like,
that's all you have to do. Anyone can just go.
Here's the thing: is everyone still, to have a record, has to commit their first crime.
Right. Yeah.
So your record could have started the second you left the store.
Yeah, I could have. That got my gun. I mean? Y'all fucking got tricked. Well, my chance of being shot or shooting someone went up dramatically now that I have a gun.
Just because you have a gun in your
yeah, there's a fucking gun around. But we have the lock on it, and the magazine is out of it, and all. I mean, we're being responsible. And
you
all
guys,
that shit,
the thing is guns aren't dangerous in the hands of a smart person,
right?
Because they take measures to make sure, because they respect what it is,
right?
Like, this is very, very, very dangerous.
Where are all these? I want to know where all these Second Amendment gun nut authoritarian hating protesters with all their fucking assault rifles and shit. Where are they at now that the Black Lives Matters protests are happening? Where are they at now that people are protesting against police brutality and police authoritarianism? All of these people, that their main argument for being able to own automatic weapons, ARs, whatever kind of guns they want, is because we need to be able to stand up for ourselves as citizens if the government tries to take their power too far. If they try to tread on us.
Which is what they're doing.
Which is what they've been doing for the longest time. And as soon as the public starts to protest it, what do they fucking do? They start bootlicking the fucking government. Oh, law and order, the police need to fucking be respected and all this shit.
Yeah, because it's not their cause of what they
all
were
of a
hoping
sudden,
for.
Yeah, all of a sudden, people are fucking marching against police brutality
They're
and
fucking
authoritarianism.
hoping the world goes to shit so that they have the right without punishment to mow black people
that's
down.
What it's always fucking been about, is you want a gun so that you can put yourself in situations where you would need to use a gun and then feel strong and powerful about it.
That's exactly what it is.
And it's not, that feeling is not specific just to race. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's a racial issue in so many ways and at its base, but it also, like, so many people think that they're enemies when they are fucking their strongest allies. Like, the same crowd of people that are super staunch Second Amendment, we all need to bear arms, we all need to make sure that the government can't have too much power over us. They're in the same fucking boat as this crowd of people that are saying, stop fucking murdering my sons and daughters and husbands and friends and brothers. Like, you don't have the right to kill whoever you want just because they did drugs or they wrote a bad check or you suspect them of driving too fast. Like, we don't have to fucking kill each other. They're on the fucking same side, but they just have different fucking ideas about how to get there.
In terms of the police, you mean?
Yeah, in terms of the overarching authoritarianism.
Yeah.
In terms of how much power, and it's the government propping up capitalism. It's the government propping up big business. So there, it goes hand in hand. Like the federal government and the policy, this legislation, all the way down into the states that allows for police unions and police to exercise too much power over the civilians is all there to make sure that we continue fucking working in the labor force and making sure that profits keep driving. We keep consuming all the things we're supposed to consume and keep the money churning. And the police aren't protectors of American citizens or American democracy. They're protectors of American capitalism. That's what their main job is to do.
Definitely.
And
like, at least in what we're seeing right now.
Where's the disconnect for these actual officers? Like, how do they not realize they're people? Like, they're citizens. They're fucking part of the society. Like, you guys...
I mean, as far as black people?
Well, any police officer that's, you know, that thinks that for some reason they have the power to exercise their will as law, that the government is right to tread on the civilians' rights and workers' rights because this is America and capitalism is the greatest fucking system there is and this is the way it needs to be. Like, you guys are voting and fighting against your own best interest unless you really think like you're going to become the private security for the fucking Jeff Bezoses of the world when everything really goes to shit and people start eating the rich. They're going to have to switch sides pretty fucking fast if things really fucking start turning.
That's the thing is I'd bet at some point, and this is sort of vague, but at some point we are going to all need each other.
Yeah.
So bad. Like something eventually will happen.
The robots,
each other.
The Boston Dynamics robot dogs with
with
machine
you're
guns
on your
mounted
own,
on
and whatever
backs.
this situation is, and a black person's in the far background or whatever, and you're like, oh my god, a person!
Yeah.
Fucking help me, dude, please, please. And then he's just like, oh, I remember you. You were a fucking racist. See you later. And then you die.
So don't let that be you.
But I just feel like whether you believe in God and that all of humanity started from two people, then inherently you would have to accept that we are all related.
Yeah.
Like religiously, you would have to literally believe that. And even if you believe in evolution, in a way, we still are all related. Mm-hmm. And the only reason why people look different is not because an all-knowing Lord in the sky deemed these people his greatest prize, greatest creation. These people a little bit less. These people not so much.
Right.
That obviously did not happen. So the only reason why we look different is because nature saw fit to have us develop due to our environment. If you live in a place where the sun fucking rapes you all day, you're going to have more melanin to protect you from cancer.
We had to adapt, yeah.
And when we live in 24/7 overcast, there's no vitamin D available to us. So our skin literally became almost translucent to accept vitamin D.
We became so depressed that the only way we could find happiness was to enslave others.
We wanted to feel strong.
We talked about that.
God, I got to pee. Real quick.
Let
me do that.
That's fine.
We'll come back to this.
When did you guys start? I'm just making a little egg.
Like almost an hour ago.
Yeah,
vegetable
close
cut
to
thing.
so.
Oh, okay.
How was work?
Oh, that's good. You got some time on your belt.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
Here's what it really is. People, we're kind of in this like space where we're getting a second wave, right? Like people, which we knew would happen. Like we knew once things started opening up again, that's just the way it was going to be. Well, people are pretty much done like wanting to wear masks.
Yeah,
like they're tired.
everyone's
of it. They're
over.
done.
Yeah.
They're ready to like. But we do. If anything, I actually feel safer.
Yeah.
Because we take so many precautions. Like before I help anybody, we take their temperature. We screen them. Like they have to wear a mask. I have a face shield. If anything, I feel safer.
Thank goodness. Yeah.
That
makes me feel good.
Yes,
like I didn't. Yeah, that's awesome.
It's better.
Yeah.
But like literally, there are people that like come into Costco because Costco still requires masks.
Yeah.
So they come in, like Costco is still being decent enough to be like, hey, we'll give you a mask.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if you don't
gotta
have
wear
one.
it. Yeah.
Which like a lot of places aren't doing. But people will take them, walk in the door, put them on, walk 2 feet and just take them off and like throw them somewhere. And so literally right before I got home, right before I left, I was like, hey, can I help you? We'll screen you over here, blah, blah, blah. And he like took off his mask and I was like, okay, well, I was like, in order for me to help you, like you have to wear your mask. So like, if you want me to do anything, and I was like totally nice about it. You know, I was just like, look, this is just the way we're doing things around here. And he like refused to put on the mask, but I was like, okay, well that's fine, but then you'll have to like leave because I can't. There's nothing I can do with you if you're not.
You don't need. There's no reason for you to be here then.
And so he literally was just standing there like this in like front of the line. And so I was like looking at him and I was like, do you want me to help you? Like, yeah, no, whatever. And he was just standing there like this, like not saying anything. And I'm like, okay. So I like look at everybody behind him because there's a line. And I like look and I was like, come on over this way. Like, we'll just move the line over here.
Yeah.
Like, you can stay here, do your own thing.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be over here.
Yeah.
And he sort of was just like,
oh,
your protest is really doing what you
sorry, yeah.
Like, and so we like move over there. And he had a thick accent, so I couldn't understand what he was saying. I'm just gonna assume that it was Russian. I don't know, but like it sounded that way.
Yeah.
And he was like, "You will get me my glasses," and I was like, "All right, put on your mask." But like I was like, "Okay, that's
I'll be over here helping you if you
like,
won't put your mask
all you
on.
gotta do is put on your mask. Like,
I
will for sure help you, but just all you gotta do is put it on. That's all you gotta do."
Right. How fucking hard is that?
And then literally he did the thing where he like took it and kind of just like put it over his top lip. And I like look at my supervisor and she's like, I got it, like done. And I was like, okay. It sucks because there is a spike, but like the rest, people are done.
Yeah.
And it sucks because
people are fucking done.
I wish they weren't. Like I wish people would just like understand.
I mean, it's fucked up because I'm one of the people that's done.
Well,
like,
we're all.
But I'm not gonna
done in my heart,
but I'm not
in my brain.
Right. I'm not gonna go into Costco and not wear my fucking mask. Like, I'm done, but I'm still a decent fucking person. Like, I want to hang out with my friends. I want to see my family. I want to not fucking have to wear a mask at work all the time.
Everybody is
but
done.
Like, you know what? We all are making concessions and sacrifices for the good of everyone else.
And like I look at
some people just don't have that bone in their body.
No, they don't. And I look at people and they're like, oh, I wish you guys didn't have to do all this stuff. I'm like, yeah, so do we. Like,
right.
You think that we want to be
yeah, that's the biggest fucking thing.
Yeah.
I'm like drenched in sweat in a face mask 8 hours a day. Like, do you think this is what I want to do?
Right.
And people like look at me like I'm the one that made this decision to like do all this. I'm like,
thanks for the virus, Hannah.
Employee that like makes the decisions for the like, worldwide company.
Right.
Yes.
It's fucking.
That's me. Anyways, other than that, it's fine. This virus was a terrorist and killed this many people. Do you know how up in arms people?
Yeah,
but because it's something you can't see.
Or they're so selfish and they're so over it in their heart and their mind, and they don't want to wear a mask, that they see everyone else that's wearing a mask and doing the right thing as an adversary because on some level they know that the right thing and the responsible thing to do is to wear a mask, but they're so selfish that they don't want to wear one. So they wish that everyone else didn't do their fucking homework too. They're the fucking kid that comes into school and hopes that everyone else in class didn't do the homework because they didn't do the homework, and then it'll be fine.
That's right.
I don't want to fucking wear my mask. So as long as everyone else acts like there's not a problem and doesn't wear their mask, then I don't have to wear mine, and then everything's fine. But because everyone else is not engaging into that fucking contract with them where we all just ignore it and go about our business, then they're like, well, you're an asshole for forcing me into a position where I look stupid for not wearing my mask. And it's like, well, you're the fucking asshole for not just wearing your mask like you're supposed to.
That kid was me.
That didn't do your homework and hope that hope that everyone else didn't do their homework too. I'm just saying, like, it's akin to that feeling.
Yeah.
But on a much more selfish level than that, because you hopefully weren't really mad at everyone. If everyone was like, no,
you didn't do your fucking homework.
They're like,
I copied.
They're like, we did the homework, and you're just like, you guys are fucking dicks, dude. Why did you do the fucking homework? This is bullshit. Like, you probably didn't feel like that, but that's pretty much what they're doing.
The teacher is Donald Trump.
Right. Dude, that's a whole nother fucking... I follow him on Twitter, and it enrages me every day. Like, how
are your balls not stuck inside your body?
It's mostly just an exercise in making myself pissed off. I just like look at Twitter. I mean, I follow like the only shit I follow on Twitter is NBA teams, NBA sports writers, and Donald Trump.
Really?
Yeah.
That was not what I would expect for you.
And so I just like to keep my finger on the pulse of what the crazy fucks are talking
NBA.
about. Like, so I follow him on Twitter, and he says just idiot goddamn shit all the fucking time. The most egregious recently was him saying that the 75-year-old man that was pushed down by police, him saying that that guy was an Antifa terrorist who was using a police scanner to try to shut down police equipment, and it was maybe a setup. He fell down way harder. He fell down way harder than he was pushed. Is this a setup? This is a Trump tweet, bro. This is the tweet from a president of the United States.
He also started bleeding from his ear more than a person should.
Yeah, and Trump is like, it was a setup. He fell harder than he was pushed.
And this is nothing against homosexuals at all, because I don't have any homosexual tendencies that I'm aware of, but I feel like I would rape Donald Trump if I was in a room with him.
Dude. Yeah, you're going to get arrested.
Like, just out of anger, I feel like I would go against my nature and just put it in him way too rough.
Maybe if you had like a dildo on hand, I don't think you'd be able to handle the smell of his shitty asshole.
I wouldn't spit or anything. I would run full speed into him from behind and just like turn his head into a bowl of soup against the wall.
Oh man. Well, he deserves it. So,
but he also might be cool to party
I just
with.
can't believe that it's allowed for the president of the United States to make baseless claims against a citizen that was fucking hospitalized by police.
Yeah, like, this old decrepit man.
Donald Trump fucking just put his name right out there on the internet and said that he was a fucking possible Antifa whatever, and that he was scanning police equipment. Like, the dude had a cell phone and a helmet in his hand. Like, what are you talking about? You're making shit up.
That old guy didn't even fucking know what he was talking about. He's like, what is that? How do I don't even know how to use my Gmail.
Yeah, what are you fucking talking about, dude?
I have to call my niece anytime I want to write an email.
So yeah, that's the most egregious Trump tweet lately. Other than him tweeting literally just, if you don't know your history, you're doomed to repeat it. And it's like, yeah, no shit, you fucking asshole. Like, you don't know shit about history.
Yeah.
When the looting starts, the shooting starts. He tweeted that as well during the fucking protest. And that is fucking, that historically was used by white supremacist fucking as a white supremacist dog whistle back in the day to fucking support violence against civil rights protesters. He tweeted a statement
He said
that. Yeah. Like,
wow.
So yeah, I just get enraged. I just open up my phone and I'm like, that's nuts. The president of our country is allowed to say the most fucking insane and inflammatory and divisive and horrible shit. Dude, what I read today, he scheduled his first fucking campaign rally since the COVID shit.
Yeah.
In Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the fucking race bombings happened. They fucking murdered Black Wall Street on June 19th, which is Juneteenth. It's a really big day in history for fucking African Americans. And so he scheduled his campaign rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on Juneteenth, which is just a fucking slap in the face. Like, there's no way that someone in the room wasn't like, you realize what you're doing, right?
That's the thing, though, man.
It's like, by design. It's inflammatory by design. Like, he doesn't schedule his fucking... Donald Trump isn't even smart enough to open a BlackBerry to schedule his own campaign meetings. Someone else... This is orchestrated by the fucking political party. This is orchestrated by the fucking handlers that run his campaign for him. Like, it's meant to fucking rile people up. You know there's going to be demonstrations, and they're doing it on purpose so that they can paint the people that inevitably end up demonstrating against him at this rally. They're going to paint them as fucking criminals and violent looters and all this shit. Like, it's fucking transparent.
Have you heard about the neatly piled brick stacks?
Yeah, I saw the pictures of those, yeah.
And people are like,
right, who's fucking dumping big loads of fucking bricks right next to the protesters?
Here's some protest ammunition, guys. Make sure you don't pass these up.
Oh, shit, I didn't even hear that.
Or the guys in fucking gas masks walking around just shattering windows, just like white dudes, not even part of the protest, just walking behind the protest, shattering the windows of businesses.
Yeah.
And the protesters turning around and being like, what are you doing? Like, somebody stop this guy, like, arrest this dude.
Which, of course, means that they don't actually care about any of the destruction.
Right.
They only care about their cause.
But once again, it's been successfully bastardized into a political issue where people are fighting against each other down political lines, where Republicans or conservatives or whoever are against the cause because they've been fucking brainwashed into thinking that the cause is only for one small section of the population, and the other side, the liberal or Democrat side, is fucking angry and hateful towards the side that is supporting the authoritarian regime. And like, we all are poor compared to the people running the country. Yeah. And we all, like, even like we have such a high quality of life, you and I, you know, like, we do so well, even with all this shit going on. Like, I have such a high quality of life that, you know, I have all my basic needs met, that it's hard to fucking step out because the protests haven't hit my suburb yet, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to step outside my bubble and fight this fight and feel this pain with people that are feeling it. But if we don't, like, we're next, you know? Like, it's the old fucking adage, like, when they came for the gypsies, I didn't fucking stand up because I'm not a gypsy. When they came for the homosexuals, I didn't stand up because I'm not a homosexual. When they came for the Jews, I didn't stand up because I'm not a Jew.
Yeah,
like,
but when it's on your front
when they
doorstep,
fucking come for you, like, you're gonna wish you fucking stood up and fought. And so it's been so successfully politicized to fucking the lowest fucking income, the lowest people on the totem pole are punching down at each other instead of realizing, like, we're all in this fight together against a system it's the worst for African Americans, you know, and minorities, and they're the fucking ones on the front lines of the fight. But like, the fight is gonna come to our doorstep eventually if things don't get better. And so
it has to, otherwise it definitely it'll bleed into all corners.
And so that's what I have to keep telling myself, and I have to stay vigilant when I get that fatigue and I get that fucking anxiety and that anger and that stress of looking at my phone all the time and seeing new videos of people being brutalized and new videos of protesters being gassed and fucking shot with rubber bullets and shot directly in the face and chest with tear gas canisters out of a grenade launcher point blank range. Like, I have to fucking
to the ground when they're already on their knees cuffed.
I'm not fucking being shot with tear gas. I'm not out on the front lines. And so how can I allow myself to be so fatigued and stressed out just by watching it on my phone that I can't allow myself to disconnect from it? And that's the advice you might hear from a lot of people, or a lot of people will say, like, and even myself included, like, yes, sometimes it is important to disconnect yourself and take a breather, but like, we can't just become complacent. We can't just say, like, oh, it's the news of it that's causing the problem. It's reading about it that's making me anxious and making me feel stressed. Like, it's not seeing the videos and reading about it and being exposed to it. Like, it's the reality of it that we need to be worried about. So I fucking encourage myself and everybody that becomes anxious and stressed out and fatigued of constantly seeing the horrible atrocities in the news and nothing being done about it. Like, we can't allow ourselves to stop protesting. We can't allow this movement to fizzle out, the like Occupy Wall Street and the Ferguson protests and riots. And it's not a new issue. Like, if this one fizzles out, we're gonna fucking be here again in 5 years, you know, when the next video comes out. Like, I know I've been
that anxiety that you feel when you look at all of these news headlines and all of these videos about what's going on and all the brutality and all the injustice, the anxiety that sparks inside of you when you see that stuff only happens because it's affecting you.
Right. And it's real. You need to hold on to that.
It's giving you energy, but it's like negative energy.
It hurts,
and it makes you anxious, and your brain and your body like naturally wants to disperse energy like that. And so really the only thing to do with that energy is like put it to use.
Right. And we owe it to the people that are fucking in the middle of the fire, that are walking through the flames, that have been, you know, fighting this fight and fucking feeling this struggle and feeling the brunt of the effects of the brutality. Like, we owe it to those people to fucking stand up for them and with them, and not just stand up next to them, but fucking give them a leg up and help them, you know, put them on our fucking shoulders if we have to, whatever, like, it takes.
You know what the saddest thing is about racists? They're so afraid that helping the black community, making things more equal, closing the gap more, fills them with so much fear because they're so afraid of helping the black community means that we will then be at a disadvantage and
Right.
be leapfrogged over by them.
Right.
And will no longer be the controller.
Right.
of-
No longer be in that position. Yeah.
And it's like, no, that doesn't even mean close to what
Right.
would happen. Like, it just means that things would just be better.
Right. It reminds me of that quote, like when you're in a position of superiority for so long, equality looks like a slight against
Surrender.
you. However it is, like whatever the
Yeah.
quote is, like you can't look at it that way.
Yeah.
you
Like,
know?
it literally, to them, it feels like they're surrendering everything that they've built.
Or like admitting some kind of guilt, like the whole guilt thing, like people internalizing it to the point of like, well, I'm not a racist. Like I'm white, but I'm not racist. Like just because I have a good job or whatever, like I should give handouts to people who don't. And it's like, you are fucking the product though of a system that fucking helped you attain certain things that other people had no access to. And you have more than you need. Most people do. But it's about providing equity. It's not about just like giving everyone the same chance. It's about propping up the fucking people that we have taken all the chances from. There was a really powerful video I watched just recently of a black woman that was talking about the protests and why people are protesting and talking about the anger and the looting and explained it within a monopoly analogy and how. Did you see that? Did you watch that?
That was.
I was in tears. Like I like woke up and watched that video and I was just like crying, and Jennifer's about to go to work. She's like, "What's going on?" I'm just like, because we've been talking about it obviously for the last week and commiserating, and we've watched videos together and fucking cried and all that shit. But yeah, when I saw that video, I just like had just woken up, and it was a very powerful statement and message about, you know, just the reality of the economic inequality and how fucking real the inequality has been. Historically, anytime African Americans start to fucking gain that economic foothold, start to amass generational wealth, which is the most important wealth you can possibly have in our society, is generational wealth. Like as soon as they start to even knock on that door, when I say we, I don't really know if it was sponsored by the government. I don't know enough history about it, but the powers that be, the police, the other citizens of the surrounding neighboring communities, I don't know if the CIA, FBI, federal government, state government, whoever was involved, just fucking tear it down anytime the black community starts to fucking get that leg up.
Yeah, it's hard not to be conspiratorial with this subject,
right?
To be honest,
I genuinely want more media produced and to learn more about
there won't be
that shit. Like, it's ridiculous that an HBO or Showtime show, Watchmen, like a fictional comic book show, is my fucking historical basis for this atrocity that was committed in my country.
Yeah.
Like, I learned about Christopher fucking Columbus discovering America and being a friend
but
to
not
the
about
Indians.
all the atrocities.
Yeah, like it was one of the main reasons I became so disillusioned with school as a young person, and I was like, didn't want to finish high school. I didn't care about going to college. I became so disillusioned with the educational system because the older I got and the more I educated myself, the more I read on my own, the more I realized like everything I'd been taught was just watered down, whitewashed, barely even a half truth.
Our problem at the root of itself as a country, and obviously encompassing the entire world, especially if you're American, it's a long, thick-ass, deep fucking root. Again, economical, but that starts from the beginning. They had nothing. No, they didn't have money. They didn't have jobs. They were just slaves. They didn't have anything to build. They didn't have anything to keep.
And then even after slavery was abolished and the civil rights bill and desegregation, like they still weren't allowed. The way that I'm not educated enough on it to go into detail about it, but the way that African Americans were forced into sharecropping and not able to buy their own homes, or forced into, really shitty terms, lease terms or rental terms with white landlords. And like you said, the fucking blocking off of entire neighborhoods where they would. It's like fucking putting them on the reservations. The same shit we
It's
did
calculated.
it's the same shit we did to the Indians. Like, you can have this desert land.
It's calculated.
You can live there, and we won't ever talk about you again. And
Right.
no one will remember the way we fucked you over.
There aren't enough of them left
Right.
to be downtrodden on.
Right.
That's the grossest thing about that.
Fuck. And the government just gives them a fucking small enough stipend to fucking,
Pacify
you
them.
know, to keep them going.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother fucking can of worms right there.
We're living in like the outer ring of the ripple of a rock drop in a lake. Wow, sorry about that.
I loved it. It gets a great image in my mind.
Of what the initial rock drop was. And that starts
With the British.
the British.
Let's
Started around 12 this morning with my crumpets and cakes
with
and
their fucking
teas.
with the imperialism and colonization.
No, man, it started a long time before that.
Yeah, it started with Adam and Steve.
Which, to be honest, I thought, to me, they're a power couple.
Yeah, and they were too powerful of a couple.
Dude, the thing is sexually, they were not compatible
Right.
because they're both power tops.
But emotionally,
But emotionally, they were perfect for each other.
yeah.
And it was
all
just
that,
really
what
what it was an experiment by our God to be like, what happens if I put two power tops together in a jungle?
right.
8 p.m.
This is the first time he came up with the name Steve.
Dude, I had such a profound thought process when I was taking a piss.
Really? You lost it though?
I lost it a little bit, and I also lost a little bit what we were literally just talking
Yeah,
about.
me too. I feel like for about 20, 30 minutes there, I had the 2 beers, and I was like,
I was talking about a root.
I was just perfectly on point, and I was saying all kinds of words really fast, and I was talking a lot and making a lot of points, and now I don't feel like I have any more points.
So,
My brain is mush now. I was like just at the perfect level of drunk or like tipsy.
side thought. When you think of the first humans to discover how to harness fire, do you imagine them being black?
No. Well, I mean, the same reason we fucking make Jesus white, because we can only fucking see ourselves in like.
What the fuck is that?
I don't know what the fuck that is.
Like
dude.
that?
Nobody in the Bible is white.
Right? I don't.
Nobody!
I don't.
People know that.
I know.
Not a one
I don't-
person. Fucking Luke,
But it just
fucking John.
It just
they
makes
were
it.
not
It makes
white.
it easier for white people to fucking conceptualize and to identify with it. But no, the first people to use fire, I think of them as
They were
Neanderthal.
probably black.
Neanderthal. I don't know what. I don't have a clear picture of what a Neanderthal looks like, because all I can think of is the fucking Geico commercial guys. Like, and they're white dudes. Like, we were whitewashing history with our fucking advertising.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
That's always here.
I'm sad that show didn't.
But really, in reality, it was Nick Kroll in blackface as a Neanderthal. Is how it
Nick
would have looked.
Kroll used to be black. But the whole thing of like differences between us is tribalism.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have a physical representation of yourself that isn't alike to my tribe. Therefore, I know you're not in my tribe. Therefore, you could be a threat.
Mm-hmm.
That starts long time ago.
Yeah.
It's still prevalent. To be honest, it's almost not even our fault. But that's different now
It's the
because
sa-
we know better now.
Right. We know not to rape now. Back then,
You know
they
what?
probably raped. Back then, when tribalism was
I
that
would
strong,
bet
Neanderthals,
they raped.
they probably Neanderthals and like whatever was before Neanderthals, and they're all intermixing. Like,
How is there not been
homunculus
a,
and Homo erectus and
Yeah.
Homo sapien and all these
now we're
humanoid,
homo
all these
sapien.
sort of humanoid fucking creatures. They were fucking raping and all that shit. But we know better now. Like, it's our basest fucking instincts, our basest biological impulses and urges don't fucking drive us anymore. They
Right.
don't define our society anymore. And so we shouldn't allow racism, tribalism to be any different. You know?
Yeah. Every generation proves the previous generation wrong,
Right.
whether it comes to science or morality, because every generation
We just get a little. We get a little better. Like
our morals tighten up
Right.
a little bit more every generation.
We do a little bit better.
Things that
hopefully.
were once believed to be fact are now interpreted as completely false or wrong.
Right.
And it's going to continue that way forever.
Right.
It'll never stop being that way.
That's all we
So-
can hope for with the government and our elected officials is
I just think I know it doesn't help you right now, but it may help your mental process to just imagine that.
Right.
Like, no matter what, things won't stay this way.
someday.
No matter what.
Like the president is 74 years old, or Donald Trump is like 73 years
Yeah,
old
he
or
going
74 years old. Joe Biden's like 77. Fucking Mitch
I'm pretty
McConnell.
sure that guy's a skeleton.
Mitch
with rubber
McConnell's
skin.
Mitch McConnell's like 80 years old. Fucking Nancy Pelosi is a bag of skin with fucking plastic surgery pinning her eyebrows up. Like, there's everyone in our fucking government is 65 or older. Is
Yeah.
fucking geriatocracy, whatever you call it. Like, someday, like, our generation will be 70 and we will be fucking running the country. And the shit that we think about, our fucking grandkids will be like, it's cool to love robots, Dad. How come you hate robots?
Dude,
like,
I was just gonna say because none of our beliefs will conflict with our children's, our grandchildren's beliefs when it comes to human beings.
right.
It'll be something
It'll
else.
be a new development that
Yeah.
we're not comfortable with, that we don't
like,
understand
look,
fully.
I get the robot has a program to know how to hold a baby,
Right,
but
yeah.
I don't want it
Yeah.
to hold my baby.
Yeah.
Okay, like,
Or
just
like-
allow me to feel that way.
No, I'm not gonna get a chip inserted into my brain, and I don't want you to get your chip inserted either. But you're 18 now, and I can't stop you. So
All my friends have a fucking chip.
all my friends are on the network, Mom. I want to be on the network. It's just like, I'm never going to be on the network. Go enjoy the network with your friends. I'll never see you again.
Sarah has a computer in her puss.
Mom, I haven't seen Steve since he got on the network. Let me go on the network.
Fuck, what was I just okay. Elon Musk.
Yeah.
I recently just heard, you know who that guy
I follow
is.
him on Twitter, too.
Musky.
Yeah, he's crazy, boy.
Dude, he should sign a deal with Axe Body Spray or something. Musk. I heard him just recently say that he believes, honestly, that within 10 years that we could have a brain chip developed that could allow us to not ever have to speak again. Because we all would just transmit our thoughts exactly to one another instantaneously.
I can see it for sure.
And he was like, within
10 years? For me, 10 years seems too short, but he is a lot
He says
smarter
10 years.
He's a lot smarter of an engineer than I am, so I'd take his word for it.
He also might be
But
talking in the sense of like, I know what is being developed.
Right. Well, he
Doesn't
also
mean that you'll know about it.
Well,
I know what's being developed.
and he's probably like, I'll be able to buy one in 10 years.
Yeah.
You won't be able to buy one.
I'll
for
know what you're fucking
yeah,
thinking. You won't
yeah.
know what I'm thinking.
You won't be able to buy one for 85 years when it comes to market by AT&T. But
also, like, if it wasn't only available to super rich people at first, I'd be a little apprehensive about it. I'd be like, what? This is only $29.99?
Yeah,
Like,
you're
I don't
gonna-
know about this.
who's gonna cut open
Who's
my brain?
putting it in me? One of
Yeah.
those dog robots?
No, Donald Trump.
Even worse. Oh, Singapore has those Black Mirror dog robots.
Yeah.
Making sure people practice social distancing.
I've already been talking about that for years now. I've already been saying like the global uprising, the civil war, the fight for income equality, the fight of the proletariat, poor people versus the rich people will not be the poor people versus the rich people. It will be the poor people versus the rich people's robots. And it's just going to be a bunch of Boston Dynamics dogs with fucking machine guns mounted on their backs, galloping through the fucking streets, mowing down civilians. What the fuck are we going to do against that? Like, we might outnumber the rich fucking 1,000,000 to 1, but 7 fucking Boston Dynamics dogs would cut us all down in the streets like nothing.
Imagine all the fucking Boston Dynamics robots. They all are like equipped with like, you know, voice activation to like communicate with people.
Yeah.
And they all have super thick Boston accents.
Get back in your fucking homes now.
Stop or my fucking dog will come eat ya.
I'm I got machine gun mounted turrets on my fucking knees.
Just a robot?
These are my knees. The machine guns.
Your skin looks real soft. Don't want to touch it.
Yeah, fucking, you ever seen The Departed?
They're just always talking about The Departed. They're always talking about fucking Matt Damon movies.
It's gonna be just like that scene in The Departed.
While they're cuffing you, they're just like, you seen Departed?
Which one was the rat?
Oh my god, dude.
No ticky, no laundry, huh?
That is so great. Oh man, I forgot that there was racial shit going on for a second.
I know, just for a second we had a couple laughs there.
Boston fucking dynamics.
For your own safety, go inside your homes.
You like thin or thick crust pizza? Don't fucking say thin. I know you're gonna fucking say thin.
Fucking, they all are just equipped with Bill Burr's voice. Dude,
That's exactly who I was imagining when I was talking like that.
People must just send him every script that calls for like an angry,
he's in them
like
all.
angry Boston native. Is just like just send it to Bill Burr.
Yeah, he's doing good in the whole
He deserves it, man.
acting gig.
I wonder what he's. Let's hear what Bill Burr's got to say about all this.
Like, I started my show blaming women for sexual harassment. That's how I started it. Yes, it was absurd. I wasn't being serious, you children.
Well, he's married to a black woman.
Oh, nice. See, even more reason to hear your fucking voice on
Yeah.
this, because your child could be fucking murdered in the streets.
So, like, he obviously has a perspective on it, you know? And he was
Yeah.
like, white people act like it's just going to be comedy Def Jam all the time, or like BET when you're married to a black. He's like,
Yeah.
no, it's just like being married to another person.
Yeah, just
Like, that's all it is.
Nia hates when I make fart noises.
I hate when people do that in general. It's so, because I don't like bathroom toilet humor. Like, I think it's so gross. While acknowledging that you were irritating me. I'm leaving. I have to go to movies.
No.
There's no difference.
They don't eat collard greens and shit for dinner every night. I mean,
What are collard greens?
you never had collard greens? It
Why?
tastes like cabbage mixed with Brussels sprouts. And it's-
Perfect.
For some reason, it's
Great.
delicious.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
It doesn't sound good at all, but it's good. Yeah, that's a funny fucking insight from him, though. Jennifer and I went to the casino last weekend. We put our mask and gloves on, and they took our temperature when we got in the door. But we had a really good time. I won $600, and she won $500. We came home with $1,100
Oh my
more than we
gosh.
went there with. Spent it was a good time. So it felt like a big win.
That's a huge win.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
at the same
definitely.
time, I was like, yeah, but if I get COVID from this, like, it's not really a fucking win, is it?
Worst day.
Right? But the reason we went out is because we're fucking over it, dude. We're so bored on Saturday night. Like, we can't really go and hang out with friends because everyone's social distancing, and which, like, we don't want to just like go up into everyone's house and the bars are closed, the movie theaters are closed, like restaurants are closed. What the fuck are we supposed to do on Saturday night? We were like, well, the casino's open. Let's fucking go to the casino. It's just everything is so fucking weird.
And everything that's going on right now is a fucking, to quote George Clooney, a perfect storm.
Yeah.
Because
Did he say that? I guess he did in the movie, probably.
I guess he also released a personal essay that he wrote about this.
Oh, really?
I feel like it was a missed opportunity.
It's just chock full of fucking his movie
He's
titles.
like, these are movies I've done.
Yeah.
Let's be real. The only people that are winning in this situation are like drive-throughs. The top
Fast food's doing great.
Oh,
Yeah.
People were like, it's not even a win for the people that have to work there. 'cause
Right.
probably
They're not
tired.
making they're not making no extra money. They're
No,
just
they're
putting their
not.
lives on the line
Right,
and fucking
right.
for
But
the
I've got,
same wage.
like-
I might die for this fucking burrito right
Yeah,
now.
right.
Like,
and then RV sales, I guess, are huge right now.
Really?
RV sales.
Because people want to travel, but they don't want to fly.
Oh,
and they
yeah.
don't want to stay in
They're like,
hotels.
let's get away from all this shit. Let's
I'm
go.
not gonna lie, I'd swipe a just dripping ass, baller ass, comfortable RV
And there you go.
with a modest space.
Smaller but modest.
I'd have crocodiles in the ground of the RV. I took it too far. I killed it with the alligators. Hitler's alligator. So first of all, Hitler owned
Is that
an
the
alligator.
sequel to fucking Tiger King? What the fuck? You didn't think these people could get any worse. Well, meet Hitler's alligator. Just a fucking alligator. It's just an alligator with a fucking swastika hat on.
Imagine an alligator's long ass face with just the
With the
Hitler
little
stash on the end of it. Fuck, they're dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Anyways, Hitler owned an alligator because
He loved
YOLO.
animals. He was an animal lover and a.
he
and
was
a
an animal
vegetarian.
activist.
He was a vegetarian.
Imagine that.
Yeah, that's why he was cool.
Today, he'd have checked all the boxes except for one.
Yeah.
Except for one
Right.
box, and it's a crucial box.
Well, for some people, that box is the most important box, and they would have loved him for it.
Well, to each their own, and
Right.
alligators
What
are
did
different.
What do you
from
have an alligator
crocodiles.
for? Hitler would have known that.
Just so you know, an alligator can stick out its tongue while a crocodile cannot.
Whoa.
Oh,
okay.
shit.
I was judging somebody by the wrong thing.
Dude, we need
Wait,
to-
which
we
one
need to
can't?
wake up.
Crocodiles can't put their tongue out?
Crocodiles cannot.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so to me, it just seems like crocodiles are not as cool as alligators.
I always thought it was the other way around, but now I guess
That's what the media wants us to
That's
think.
true.
Because alligators, they're thicker
Okay.
and usually bigger, I think, and they can stick out their tongue.
Crocodiles are more dinosaur-y,
Yeah.
where like alligators are more reptile.
I just like the name better, crocodile.
Yeah, crocodile's way cooler
just like
than
that.
alligator.
Sounds way cooler.
Alligator sounds like a technical term, and crocodile's like, I'm a street fucking reptile.
Yeah, dude. He does sound like the fucking street reptile.
I don't know. Crocs kind of ruined it for me. Now all I can think about is the.
Oh, now you ruined
Now all
it
I can
for
think
me.
about is alligators wearing Crocs, just coming out of the swamp, just like.
I mean, nothing against Crocs. Crocs are fine.
I don't think we're gonna hurt their company's feelings.
Well, yeah, I'm sure they're all right.
I just don't understand why they even like. Why did they take off so? they're
Hitler's alligator
Just, yeah.
just died.
What the fuck?
Was that not the punchline you
That
were
is
hoping for?
not. That is not what I was expecting at
The
all.
alligator was 84 years old.
Oh my goodness! Wow.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure they just stopped feeding it. Because they're just like, it's fucking Hitler's alligator,
Why are
bro.
we keeping this thing alive?
Like, I didn't become a zookeeper to
Yeah.
take care of Hitler's alligator. Like,
I love animals.
alligators are very cool. Some might even say it's better than crocodiles.
Crocodiles are from the streets.
And I've... Okay. That's what that was all about. That end right there.
I'm glad we got at least a little bit off of the protest. You have to separate the fucking people that are protesting for their rights from the opportunists that are just fucking pulling their cars up outside of the fucking Target and trying to loot shit. Like,
Have you seen the Killer Mike speech?
I haven't, no.
To be here to simply say that it is your duty not to burn your own house down for anger with an enemy. It is your duty to fortify your own house so that you may be a house of refuge in times of organization. And now is the time to plot, plan, strategize, organize. So my question for us on the other side of this camera is, after it burns, will we be left with charred, or will we rise like a phoenix out of the ashes that Atlanta has always done? Will we use this as a moment to say that we will not do what other cities have done, and in fact, we will get better than we've been? I can tell you is that if you sit in your homes tonight, instead of burning your home to the ground, you will have time to properly plot, plan, strategize, and organize and mobilize in an effective way. And two of the most effective ways is first taking your butt to the computer and making sure you fill out your census so that people know who you are and where you are. The next thing is making sure you exercise your political bully power and going to local elections and beating up the politicians that you don't like. You got a prosecutor sent your partner to jail and you know it was bull. Put a new prosecutor in there. Now's your election to do it. You want a different senator that's more progressive, that pulls marijuana through. Now is the time to do that. But it is not time to burn down your own home.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's an important message, definitely. I don't want to say that looting and fucking burning and violence and rioting is justified, but in a way, if your voice isn't being heard and no matter how peacefully you try to protest, like nothing changes and no one listens to you, what do you think is going to happen? It's basic fucking psychology, like it's basic human nature. Anybody that feels like they've been done wrong and no one will hear them or listen to their side of it, they will find some way to communicate with you that you'll understand. And so people that are angry enough to burn or to vandalize or to shatter the windows of a business or whatever, like I could give a fuck about Target. I could give a fuck about Walmart. I could give a fuck if they burn down every fucking Macy's. Fucking let it burn, dude. And it might be controversial to say, but I'm angry too, and I'm angry at the system of capitalism, and I'm angry at fucking big. Do you think it's gonna fucking affect Target's bottom line that their fucking store got burned down? Not one fucking bit. But if it furthers the fucking voice, if it gets the cause on people's minds, maybe it was worth it. I'm not saying anyone should burn anything down, but I understand it and I empathize with it. I don't condone it, but I also don't demonize it. I don't think that it's a point of contention that people should, it's not a hill to die on in these protests. Like if shit gets out of hand, like that's unfortunate. That shouldn't happen. But I want to focus on the people in a position of power and the atrocities and the violence and the unnecessary destruction of communities that they perpetrate. That's what I want to talk about. And if these people that are the aggrieved party, the victims, if they fucking lash out a little bit and there's a little bit of fucking destruction caused on their side, like so be it. I don't want it to continue in that direction, but I understand it, and I hope that people have fucking got that out of their systems and then they can do exactly what Killer Mike is a proponent for, which is organizing, strategizing, getting together with like-minded people who share your views and who want to make a change and who are willing to get involved in the process of voting and driving a political movement, because we can't take this fight into the fucking streets with our guns, because the military power, yes, the people, the civilians outnumber the police and the military and the government, but we don't possess the tools. We don't have tanks and APCs and rocket launchers and shit. Like we cannot mount a rebellion against our masters in a way that like France might have back in the day, you know, like that's not a possible reality anymore. So the only way we can affect change is the way Killer Mike is explaining, is fill out your census, register to vote, go out and change your county and your local state officials. They have more power than people give credit for. So voting and mobilizing politically is far more important than burning anything, but it starts somewhere. And I empathize with people's anger for that.
I believe that we still inherently have the mindset of a colonial America mindset, whereas like, don't let the government strong arm you.
You can't tread on me.
Don't let them do what you know the masses knows to be wrong.
Right.
And fight back, and don't let this become another Britain.
Right.
Because that's what we set out to do, is not be like that.
Right.
And in a way, people protesting are doing exactly what we've been told to do in our doctrine.
Right.
Of the country.
Right.
And the government is doing exactly, at least what's written down, George Washington and all of our forefathers would be completely against.
Right. And the same shit that our government is doing to us, they have said was wrong. Like there are government officials that spoke out about protests in Iran and in Hong Kong, and they're sending messages to Iranian officials saying, don't attack your protesters, don't brutalize your civilians, they've been through enough pain. It's like, well, how come you can have that message for other places, but here there's some kind of cognitive dissonance that you don't realize, like you're perpetrating the same shit against your own citizens.
And it honestly, just that thought alone is so concerning.
Right.
Like, what is that?
I don't know what that is.
That's a fact you can reference.
Right.
Like, that's a real thing.
Right.
Like, that's
like,
a part of...
Here you are supporting protests in other countries, but you don't support the protests of the American people.
So just that alone could be told to everyone. Like, hey, you realize this, right?
Right.
What do you think about that?
Right.
Anyone would be forced to then recognize, like, oh, yeah, that seems very off.
Right. Something's not right about that. Yeah.
What's going on
What
here?
interests are they protecting by feeding me this message that the protests in America are unlawful and anarchist and causing all this violence, but the protests in other countries against their authoritarian governments are justified? Why isn't it justified here?
And doesn't it also seem odd that throughout history that every public citizen opposition to a mass rule or law or ideology by the government has been fought against and then deemed later to have been wrong?
Right. If you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it, right?
Exactly.
But I also feel like I need to go and be responsible about educating myself on some of this shit, because I have felt really strongly about change, societal change, as far as treating minorities better. And I feel like it's my responsibility to go and educate myself on some of the stuff that I reference or that I'm interested in and how it pertains to like where we are now in our, because I've had arguments with people telling me that systemic racism doesn't exist, that it's not a real thing, that America is past that, you know? And I need to have my facts right. I need to be able to fucking point to these real life examples that are within our fucking generation, you know? Like,
the people that think that systemic racism doesn't exist are ignorant to the fact that they're only considering one side of a coin.
Right.
Because the way they're imagining systemic racism is just a blatant disregard for human rights when it comes to people that aren't white, which they can't imagine being real.
Right.
That whatever any other communities that aren't white, you know,
what they're experiencing,
whatever
saying,
happens to them, they deserve because of what they've done.
Right. I mean, you're
and
not
that
wrong.
Is one side of the coin.
Right.
The other side of the coin is why that is happening.
Right.
And that's the dark side of the moon part, where everyone gets to see the bright, shiny part where all their dreams come true and everything's nice. And the reason why my life has been easy is because I'm just a really great stand-up person, and I deserve it.
But you're right, though. It's really difficult to speak logically or to bring up that type of evidence or talk to someone that way, because they're wrapped up in their own understanding of it, and they see it as that group's own doing, and they don't see the history and how it's just a snowball, you know, everything compounding on top of each other. And I think it's wrong to say like we haven't gotten better. Obviously we've gotten better. Things are better than they used to be, but we're nowhere near where we should be. Like, just saying that things are better than they were in 1960 or 1970 or 1980, fucking progress is too slow. Like, we need to be better. We're smart enough now. We understand enough. There's enough information and access to the information, and we know enough about human psychology and the way our minds work that there's no excuse anymore for that level of ignorance. Like, we need to accelerate our social progress.
Okay, so Bun B had a pretty great adaptation of what he interpreted the All Lives Matter slogan to mean to him, like as an example. When we say Black Lives Matter and you guys say All Lives Matter, this is how it reads to us. And he said, if my wife comes home in obvious pain and asks, do you love me? An answer of, I love everyone would be truthful, but also hurtful and cruel in the moment. If a coworker comes up to me upset and says, my father just died, a response of, everyone's parents die, would be truthful, but hurtful and cruel in the moment. So when a friend speaks up in a time of obvious pain and hurt and says, Black Lives Matter, a response of all lives matter is truthful, but it's harmful in the moment.
Super fucking true. And that's actually, I was expecting you to bring up one of the ones that I've already heard before, like analogies I've heard before, but that's actually the best one.
Doesn't that sum it up
That's
great?
the best one that I've heard.
Like, if we got to see into the future 100 years right now, after this, what's going on, and this is a pivotal moment, and we can decide to do this or that. And if we choose violence and destruction and bloodshed and pain and sadness for a while, our descendants are going to have it much, much better. Would we choose that?
Right.
Or would we continue to just rather remain peaceful and unharmed in a sense?
I guess it depends on how much work it requires on our part. Well, you brought up Gandhi, and from what I know about him, it was all pretty peaceful, but
Yeah, he just went on a diet for a while.
I don't know what else there was.
The younger people are going to, like, our kids' kids. Really, the only thing that's going to solve this is time. And people don't like that answer always, but...
Well, and it does suck because it does feel like change happens really, really, really slowly, but we still can't.
To us, it
stop.
seems slow, but to
Still
the
can't
pages of
stop.
history, it won't be slow. It will be...
Right.
Like, everything huge that happens in the moment seems like a grueling, arduous, slow fucking torture.
Right.
But once it's been 40 years, 50 years, 100 years, like, we look back and go, thank God that happened, but what else is going on?
Yeah.
That's what this is going to be. It just is going to take time.
It needs to hurry
Like
up,
Confucius say, man who moves mountain begins with moving one stone. And on that note, this has been all that on Nickelodeon. This is all there.
Miss that shit.
I do too.
Well, thanks for listening to your friends.
And look, I know that I'm going to have some sign-off thoughts. We can all have sign-off thoughts. But even the old timers that I talked to were like, you guys are living in some shit fuck times.
I know, isn't that weird? Isn't that weird to hear from them? Because all we've ever heard our whole life is how easy we've had it, and
we're
how
finally
we're
getting
spoiled
some
and
fucking
entitled.
respect on our names,
right?
you know
We're
what I
getting
mean?
some
Like-
recognition for this shit.
Put some respect on my name.
And I had a long conversation with an old guy the other day about how hard his life has been recently, and it shocked me. But he was still like, you guys, though.
He's like, we sure fucked you with no
No,
lube,
that's
didn't
literally
we?
what he said. He said, we fucked you guys.
Yeah, with hot sauce and sand for lube.
We fucked you. He's like, I didn't fuck you, but we fucked you.
Collectively,
Like,
yeah.
He's like, and I really hope that you guys...
In the pursuit of our own wealth and happiness,
Yeah.
we fucked you guys.
He's just like, it's up to you guys, man.
Yeah.
Like, I hope you guys fix this.
And then he just died. And he's just like signing off.
And I was like, no promises.
Did you beat his ass?
Yeah, I kicked this shit out of it. I forgot what I was going to say again. Fuck. Well, okay, so we're going through rough times, obviously. That's what I was getting at. I just feel like we still have to be able to laugh.
Mm-hmm.
We still have to be able to
We
indulge
still need
in
a
humor.
place of refuge.
It's imperative to our survival to be able
Yeah.
to unscrew a little bit and
Yeah.
release some air.
It is very okay and necessary to have outlets, and laughing is probably one of the most powerful outlets.
Laughing is completely
Yes.
necessary.
Yes.
Yeah.
So keep your foot on the gas, but do what you need to do to take care of yourself, and just try to carry yourself so we can take care of big things.
Right. Take
I
a
mean-
step back and laugh at the absurdity.
As absurd as life can get, you have to be able to twist it in your mind into a way that allows you some relief.
Right.
Because just to be a human being is hard. So humor is a survival tool. And so I know before everything that's going on, I mean, with a few of you that have even heard this, we've made some jokes that are of racial category.
Mm-hmm.
And this might sound completely inconceivable to people, but in my mind, those jokes that I may have made or do make or will make, to me at least, are made out of love.
Right.
Like
'Cause-
100%.
Yeah. I know who I am.
The reason why it's funny to me is because I really do care.
Right. I
And
understand
the fact that
how
I
fucked
care,
up
it's
that is,
so
yeah.
absurd to me
Yeah.
about the things that go on that I have to make jokes about it in order to relieve.
Right.
You know what
to
I mean?
try to make some kind of sense of it.
So if this episode does nothing else but to let anyone who's listening or will listen to understand that about us, just how we feel about all this stuff.
Black
I
lives
think is-
fucking matter.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening to your friends. Love everyone.
Love y'all.